Hey, BA fam. Welcome to the BAQA on this, I don't know, delightful day. How are we feeling? I kind of went for like a grunge kind of like vibe. I got my jilted American Mrs. President shirt on. Yes, she can. Yes, she didn't.
Yeah.
But it's like Valentine's Day or whatever. So like, hi. Happy
Hey, happy
Valentine's
Valentine's
Day.
Day.
Yay, love. Um
Yay. Yay to Black love.
Yay to black love. Yes. I mean, if you're Jalen Hurts and his wifey, like, I hope that there's rose
Beautiful.
petals
Love
and
it.
like bubble baths involved for you. I am joined by the beautiful, the wise, the glowing Naseema McElroy, aka the founder of Financially Intentional. If y'all have not yet listened to this week's episode on Wednesday, the Brown Table, that episode is dropped. You can watch it on YouTube. Go watch it and then come back because Nasima is amazing and you offered such a great perspective. Why are you laughing at that? You are
I love
amazing.
it. I love it. I just have so much fun. I'm just reminiscing.
Oh, good. That's all I want at the end of the day. I just want y'all to
Yes.
have fun. Okay, so Nasima, we are here to answer some questions from the BA fam. I want to know about,
Hmm.
I shared a little bit about like my vibe around the holidays. Like, how are you feeling about V Day and relationships in general? Because we're here to talk about
Ooh.
money and relationships.
Ooh, money in relationships has always been like this weird kind of thing for me. I am technically, you know, single right now, very much dating heavy.
Are you?
Um,
Whoa, you are?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I
So
love
it'll
that
be
for
an
you.
interesting Valentine's Day for me. I'm actually looking forward to what's gonna happen. So I'm in very good spirits right now.
Mm.
But yeah, um, with my current relationship, I think money, the dynamic between like money, talking about money is totally different than I've ever experienced, and it's because it's somebody that's kind of in the same similar space than us, and so we share similar viewpoints,
Would I know
which
this person?
probably maybe.
Wait, whisper the name. I'll edit it out.
Nah.
Tell me.
When
Tell
I pop
me.
out, you'll know. You'll
Damn, because Chris,
know.
popcorn finance, Chris, I gave, I loved he was single for like point 0.5 seconds, and I told him he would. I was like, the girls are going to be all over
Yeah.
this strapping young man. Anyway, I just
For the
love
romance, yes.
for the
It's
romance, darling.
very it's yes, it's a
Yes.
very nice romance. And so before and I mentioned this in our episode, I've been in a position where it's one of those things that brings a little bit of contention because I've always made a lot of money, typically more money than the person that I've been with, and it's always been like a topic of discussion, like, oh yeah, I know you're in this position, and I would never, and what kind of man would, until things change, right? And this time it's more of a balance, and so money conversations look a lot different under this context. And it's actually really exciting. It's like the first time I felt comfortable kind of pulling back the veil and like sharing in detail, like getting financially naked and sharing details, and then being able to have like really constructive conversations around money. And it's really satisfying. So I love it.
I I know how special that is, especially
Yeah.
after not having that. I can't
Hmm.
even tell you. I'm so happy. And yes, I hope he buys you flowers and opens doors and all that. But like sitting down to have a financial conversation with like an equal who there's no eggshells, there's no ego to tiptoe
Yes.
around.
Yes, that part.
I could almost like get emotional about that. I'm really, really
Yeah.
happy for you. You deserve that. We all do.
Thank you. Thank you. I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. It's just really refreshing to have that. So,
Yeah. How
yeah,
long, how long have y'all been dating if you don't mind me asking
just
since
a
you
couple of
told me this?
months.
Oh,
Yeah.
just okay. I love
Yeah.
that you're already having this discussion, but now we're no spring chickens. Like this is not
Yeah.
dating at 22, you're
This is
42.
this is dating at 42. This is
Yeah.
dating with kids involved. This is dating with it. You have to be intentional about that.
A
Like if
business.
exactly, it's a whole bunch of things that If you don't start having those conversations early, it's like, then what are we really doing? Then we're just being friends because, you know,
Right.
it's a different situation, definitely, than
And
it
if
makes
you're
sense.
worth it to them, they'll, or if it's meant to be, like it's almost like creating a boundary by saying,
Hmm.
I'm ready to have these discussions. And it's like a pre screen. Are you ready?
Yep,
Because
yep,
if yes,
yep,
pass go. If no, go
exactly,
back.
exactly, exactly.
Man, do you have any advice for other women who are thinking about getting back out there, who are just getting back out there, who are like established in their lives, especially after the convo we had Wednesday? Y'all have to go listen to it about prenups and audit.
Yes.
How do you think you'll approach this relationship differently? You know, from a money and business perspective, protecting yourself.
Oh, it's totally like, even after we had the conversation on Wednesday, it was kind of something that I could touch back on and like, okay, like this is why prenups are important. This is why, I think this is something that we should discuss early on. And we, like, from our first conversation, like literally our first like serious conversation, it was even brought up. And it was just a check, it was just a recheck in, like, this is really important to me. This is why. And then the sentiments were echoed because it's the same thing. Like, we both have a lot to lose and we both have a lot to gain. And I think that that's what drives this. Like, it's not about the prospect of, not being together. It's really about how are we going to merge our finances and how are we going to continue to have those discussions going forward. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Do
it was
you
a check in.
think
Yeah.
that's great? Do you think that because you shared on the show that you've had two, you have one marriage and then one, well, you said what it was a civil union?
It was a domestic partnership that I
Okay.
still had to get divorced from. Yeah.
Which, yeah, that blew my mind. I'm like, good. That was helpful to know.
Yeah.
For anyone in that situation. Yeah. So talk to me. I mean, does it even matter? Are you like putting a label on it, marriage? Like, is that something that you want to pursue again? Knowing
It
what you
was
know now?
it was always something that after, especially after going through marriage, and I can say that definitely my first marriage, I didn't really think about it really deeply. I wasn't very intentional about it. And I probably got married for the wrong reasons and not understanding marriage. And I think, like Aaron made a great point of understanding what marriage is really about. And
But
if people came from it from that perspective, yes, but I didn't.
I just feel
But
like you have to
yeah,
be in a marriage. I almost think you need to go through marriage to know what marriage
yes,
is.
that's true
It's
too. That's true
very
too.
unfair to sort of like hold everyone to this standard of like, go get married and you'll never get divorced, and if you get divorced you failed. I almost feel like it's so different when you're in it, and I'm 8 years in and I'm just now like really learning how a long marriage, like decades of marriage, like what that needs. Um,
Hmm.
and like I could have told you intellectually, I could have told you what I heard, what
Right.
advice I had gotten, what books I had
Hmm.
read, but like
Hmm.
living it, I think that lived
Yeah.
experience is so necessary.
It is. And my whole thing was, I was after that dissolution of my first marriage, like even going into having a domestic partnership. The reason why we had a domestic partnership and did not get married was because I was adamant that I did not want to get married. But then I didn't understand like the legal implications of a domestic partnership when you have kids and you have property together. Um, but I was just like, I was so animated about like not getting married again and how horrible it was to go through that divorce process and like being like, people should have to go through a divorce process first before they get married so they can understand who that person
Gosh.
is. But now,
Mm.
like, it's different when you have great communication, you have, those you're able to have those open conversations. And again, you're able to get financially naked and not feel vulnerable and not feel taken advantage of and not having to tiptoe around emotions, and which is what you often have to do in insecurities and all of those kind of things. So I can honestly say, like, it's the first time in my life that I've really been seriously considering even getting married again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your are your little girls, what's it like raising three little girls that, I mean, I guess two of your girls are probably engaging with content and the internet and media.
Yeah.
But I remember being 4 years old and fully understanding marriage and knowing I wanted to be a bride because, of course, that,
Really?
I mean, that was the outcome that like every movie that I loved was all about.
Yeah.
So, and it's just so
It's
funny.
different. It's different with these kids. Like they are exposed to a lot and I think a little bit too much. So I'm having like really different conversations. My oldest daughter, yeah, I don't know, she's trying to be a lesbian. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But
Okay.
but
Yeah.
but being a they see like a spectrum of relationships and they've seen me be married, they've seen me not be married, and they understand peace and happiness. And so they lean towards whatever brings you peace and happiness. And I don't think they've seen me be more peaceful independently than in a relationship. And so
Right.
I think they're saying that whatever brings me peace is what I want to do. And they're understanding that, which to me is empowering because they don't tie
Mm.
their happiness to another person.
I learned so much about relationships by watching my mother. Of course, I remember the happiest I ever saw her was the years after she divorced my dad and she was single and dating and like,
Yeah, uh-huh.
I mean, and it's something that comes up for me is like when I think about those like kind of magic golden years, being a kid, I'm like, oh, when my mom was going on these dates and she was getting all dolled up and I'd watch her, blow dry her hair and like the perfume and stuff. And she had friends and she was having fun.
Yes.
And that really sticks with me as a mom because I just feel like it's so important for them to see us like thrive and have a life and have joy and have these relationships, friendships, lovers, like all that. It's because it's their example too
Exactly.
of what they can get. All right, BA fam.
Uh-huh.
Well, I want to jump into y'all's questions because as today is Valentine's Day, take that for what it's worth. I have been saving some questions from BA fam about relationships and money. And so I thought since I have Naseema here, who better to help me answer these questions with y'all? So I love how this question is like a novel and then the other question is literally like 6 words.
Right. I was looking at that like, what?
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Okay, well, let's go with the big one first. Let's get this out of the way. Not that your question is not important to me, Bronwyn. This is your anonymous pseudonym. Alrighty, so this question comes from listener Bronwyn, who is a newlywed. She says, my husband and I recently got married and we're discussing plans to merge our finances. Okay, doing that after the marriage. All right. For context, I make about 150K. My husband makes 40K. I have 99K in student loans with ambitious plans to pay them off in 5 years. I moved into the house that he owned 3 years ago, and since then we've maintained separate finances. I currently contribute almost half the mortgage, and I primarily cover the costs of groceries. All other household expenses are on him, but we split major purchases and dining out. So if and when we merge finances, we plan to split household finances proportionally, meaning that I would cover more of our household costs because I earn more. However, all caps, my husband primarily uses a credit card for his day-to-day expenses, and his parents, wait, I didn't read this question before all the way through. His
Right.
parents make the monthly payment. Okay. I mean, not shocking because he's making 40K like house,
I
right? Okay.
mean, yeah, that
All
part
right.
right there.
Sorry, back to Bronwyn. Although I also benefit from the generosity of this magic credit card, I don't know how to share finances without feeling resentment because I will have less disposable income to cover my debt and regular life expenses. Being a black woman ain't cheap, but he will benefit from my taking on more of the household costs, and he will have a bottomless pot of money to swipe from, while I have a very strict budget that I follow. Should we share finances? And if so, how should we split things to account for my high income but high debt and his bottomless gift?
Hmm.
Do his parents know it's bottomless? I don't know.
That's a very interesting situation.
Yeah.
Like, why? I guess I have more questions
Answers. Let's talk it through. What are
than
some of the
answers.
questions coming up?
First of all, like, why is he only making $40,000?
What does he do? Substitute teacher? What makes 40K
Yeah,
this
like
time?
yeah, I don't know. It blows my mind that somebody can survive off of $40,000. But
Mm.
maybe if you
Maybe they live
have
in
this,
Mississippi.
maybe if you
We don't
have
know.
this like endless access to money, which like from your parents, you
Yeah.
don't have the ambition to make more. I don't know. So that's kind of where my mind goes. And then I'm like, okay, like she really wants the answer to this, and I think that it's fair for her to feel this kind of way. It's not his fault, and I'm sure they can work through that. But I'm just like, I think what's going to end up happening is that they really need to sit down and talk about like what their real expenses are, and then make that equitable. Because like credit card spending is going to be purchases, it's going to be, you know, it's not going to be necessarily your utility bills, or it could be. I don't know. So, what are your real expenses, and then how do you think it would be equitable to split those? But it just these
Can you
conversations,
put your student loan debts on his credit card? Can you put those
right?
payments on it? That could make it a little equitable.
Exactly,
Probably not.
exactly. And but I understand the feeling of like somebody has these resources, this access to resources that you don't have. And also like a little bit of resentment because you probably had to work really hard to get to where you're at to make $150,000. Um, but like I just feel like in lieu of the conversation that we had on Wednesday, I just feel like how are you already married and these things haven't been fleshed out?
That's my first thought too.
Yeah,
And it's not
yeah,
like they got married like and they've only been dating, like she lived with
yeah,
him for 3 years. Still didn't work this out. I don't know why things necessarily need to change after marriage. That was interesting to me how
hmm
because they've been married, now they're going to like reproportion the expenses. She's gone from paying 50-50 for his mortgage. That almost makes it seem like it was in his best interest to marry her because then he would get more help with his mortgage, which sounds ick. But that is
right,
kind of like how marriages worked back in the olden days. Sometimes you'd have the man would have the title or whatever, or the parents' credit card, and the woman with the dowry would help pay off debts or whatnot.
hmm
But that's like a bit of a red flag for me. Just why are we changing
but
this up if it's been working for so long?
exactly. And the thing is, okay, what kind of mortgage are you having on a $40,000 income? Unless, unless it's like a house that his parents bought for him, and like it's just like so many questions.
Yeah,
And I'm just
maybe they
like, but
bought
is
it for
she?
him.
Yeah, is she still winning? Because it for her to move into this house, it has to be like a financial reason in there somewhere, right?
Mm.
And so, like, how much is this mortgage? And it's just like it just like I said, it brings up more questions than I have answers to. Because I need to understand this situation a little bit better.
Maybe this will make you feel more comfortable. I didn't do my salt shaker spiel. Y'all, this is my salt. Get your salt shakers out. This is the BAQA. This is infotainment, okay? We are educated. We are smart. We know our shit. But we don't know all of your shit. We're not your lawyer. We're not your financial planner. Not your financial advisor. Don't sue us. Sue your grandma, as Tiff would always say. So, Naseema, now do you feel safe? Let's hypotheticalize
Yes, yes,
this.
yes, yes. We will hypotheticalize it.
She wants
Um,
to know, should we share finances? How should we split things up to account for my high income but high debt and his bottomless gift? Listen, like in a marriage, my debt became and vice versa. That's our debt. This is our
mhm,
goal.
mhm,
I don't see
mhm,
why if I would propose to him even like, hey, I know we've talked about increasing the proportion of the mortgage payment, my mortgage payment share because I earn more now that we're married, but what if we calculated that, but I keep paying you half and I take the extra and I just put that toward my student loans, because ultimately that's going to be better for us as a couple because this is our debt now.
mhm.
And I wonder how he might take that. I
Right.
also feel like he may not have any student loan debt because maybe his parents bankrolled that. No shade to nepo babies,
Yeah.
like no shade. Like I hope to raise one in a way. I
Right.
hope to raise kids who, I mean, not necessarily having my credit card when your ass is married, but who have some, some financial support. Yeah, that's my thought. Like the debt should be theirs. I feel weird about him wanting to pay less of the mortgage because also, oh, this is what I wanted to ask. Is her name on the deed? Like, is she going to
Yeah.
actually get, if she's putting money into this mortgage, she should be on the deed. She should
Yeah.
be earning equity
hmm Well, I
in that
think that's
home.
inherent in the marriage, and I think that's what Aaron talked about. And I wanted like to highlight the things that he shared in the way that his, like, for example, his marriage is set up. But like when you get married, it's no longer my assets, your assets. If you wanted to keep it like that, you don't get married, right? So now everything is your assets together. So now you're $190,000 net. I mean, yearly income household. Okay. And so everything needs to be looked at like that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
true. And she's talking about if and when
yes.
we merge finances, well, boo,
It's like, well, they're already legally merged
he done
under
did it.
the law, right? So
Yeah.
now figure out a way where you can have a conversation to make it as equitable as possible.
Mm,
Um, I mean, that's the only way. I mean, that's the solution to me. It's just like sit
yeah.
down, share your feelings. You guys aren't new to this. Y'all true to this. Y'all already been in this for a little while. You've already been commingling funds, is what they would call it when you go to the court. You've already been commingling. Um, so figure out a way that feels fair for both of you guys. And then I just like trying to understand how much the parent involvement is here. And if that has anything to do with a lot of the resentment that she's feeling, is like, does she feel like that maybe he doesn't feel as committed to the finances as he should because he has this magic credit card, like she likes to call it? Does she feel resentment because he doesn't necessarily have to pull the same weight that she does because he doesn't have student loans? Like it just seems like there's some things that they need to untangle, which I feel like, again, now that you're already married, maybe a postnup will help you work through and give you words around and community and actual structure to put things under. So I think my ultimate advice would be maybe consider going through a process, or picking up Aaron's book and kind of working through that and using that as a guide to walk you through how to have these conversations and how to look through things like objectively and get some of those questions answered that may be causing the resentment in your relationship.
And Aaron's book is called Prenups Made Simple, right? By Aaron
Yeah.
Thomas. We'll
The
have a link
prenup
in the.
prescription.
Oh, thanks. Not at all what I said. The
But
prenup
I think that's the subtitle.
prescription. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Gotcha. Well, 50-50. We did it. Yeah, that's such a good point. To talk about that prenup and to get some protection yourself, and especially if his parents have substantial assets. I mean, that we're making some assumptions about his parents being like loaded, but
Right.
it
hmm
could be like a $500 credit card. We don't know.
Exactly.
Just for like, I don't know, to buy himself lunch. I just can't take it when your mommy and daddy give you a credit card to just use when you're grown and married. Okay, anyway, it's just like no. But I love the idea of the post nub. I also
hmm
love. I also like. Oh, this is what I was going to say earlier because she mentioned how her day to day expenses, and she put it in parentheticals like being a black woman's expensive. And I
hmm
feel like when you spend so many years keeping your finances separate as a couple, it can be uncomfortable to pull the curtain back and then show
On what you're actually spending.
here's actually where my money is going because you're going to have someone else's judgment involved. But I mean, like my husband needed to know that I'm a massive Beyonce fan. So when she goes on tour, it's going to be, a washer dryer. Like, yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I value in life. Like, you need to kind of know that. Or like, if it's your hair appointments, your nails, I don't know what else. But like, that is something that you should maybe get comfortable talking about because you're going to want transparency from him and have that transparency yourself. And I liked what Aaron said too about having in their postnup or in his prenup with his wife was having a clause that
The,
said, if one of us spends over $500, we have to tell the other person.
Yeah.
So that kind of protection
Hmm.
is important. So yeah, I'm on the
I also
prenup
think
train.
that when people make a certain amount of money, it's automatically assumed that they have more money when a whole lot of lifestyle inflation and lifestyle creep happens there,
Hmm.
where this person that's making $40,000 can easily have more disposable income than this person that's making $150,000, especially when you don't have to spend money on day-to-day expenses. You're putting them on
I'm
your
just
credit card,
picturing him
right?
being a farmer and she's like Bozema. I'm just picturing like Bozema St. John from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, like dating, I don't know, Danny the farmer. And like
Right.
it works for them, but it's very
Yeah.
different, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but there could be a lot of assumptions on his behalf, like that she should have more money, so therefore she could contribute more, especially if you're looking at it from like trying to be equitable and sharing expenses so that, she makes so much more. But like, I think what you're saying, like pull back the curtain, like really, really share what you're spending on. Is there some things that could be cut back? Possibly. But the bottom line is that you guys need to be on the same page on what your spending is, what you value, what's really important, and then I think that'll help them um, be able to make decisions around sharing finances. But again, that's something that I feel like when you do a process like a prenup, postnup, all of those things, it helps you flesh those out. So
Hmm. Getting
yeah,
clear on your goals as a couple too. Like,
yeah.
are we collectively working toward paying off your debt? That helps get the mindset on his part going that this is like our goal to reach. And are we planning to retire at a certain age? Like, is one of our values that we're going to have family vacations every
Mhm.
year? And
Mhm.
what could that cost? And like, how do we plan toward that? And that is a missing piece, I think, for a lot of relationships. And it certainly some years we're good at it, me and my husband. Some years we're not so great at it, making a plan. Talking about like post baby years when it's just like survival. Like we can't really look at
For sure,
6
for
months.
sure.
But
Oh my goodness, yes.
good luck, Bronwyn, and thank you for your question. Congratulations on your wedding.
Congratulations.
I
Yes.
really hope the best for y'all, but I like I think the post nut plan. So go to prenups.com too, because Aaron, I
Hmm.
don't know what state you live in, but I think they practice in like half the states, maybe more.
Most of them, yeah. You
Yeah.
can find somebody in your state through his site.
Alrighty. All right, let's take a quick
Yeah.
break and we'll come right back with a question from listener Lauren. Okay, VA fam, we are back with a short but sweet and very broad question from listener Lauren, who sent us a DM on IG to say, how do you talk to your partner about finances when you're not married? And are there any red
Hmm.
flags? We did talk about this a little
Yes.
bit at the
We
top of the
talked about
show.
this. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about this at the top of the show. And I think it depends, like you said, on what stage of life that you're in, like how much in detail, how fast you get into those conversations. And also, you know, I talk about money every single day. So it's just like your level of comfortability, right, with
Mm.
it. And I don't know, finances comes up for me really, really early on.
Like was there a topic you started with? Was it like you want to get like the spring rolls or the tacos for appetizer? Also, what's your credit score? Just wondering.
It
Is it
was
like
kind of
that?
like that. It was kind of like, hey, I like you a lot, I know what you're all about, and guess the prenups. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like the first sentence. So I mean, like, yeah, those conversations. It just depends. But I feel like the earlier, the better. I feel like what people lean towards more is not having those money conversations until there's an issue that comes up. And I think the most important thing is to try to and not saying that you can curb everything, but try to get in front of those conversations early and kind of like, even if it's just like general, like what's your perspective about money? Like, do you want to retire early? Like, how do you value money? Like, how do you look at it? Like, do you think investing is important? Do you think that YOLO is important and that you don't know when you're going to die? So, you spend this kind of way. Or do you just have money trauma and you're still trying to heal from that? Or, like, it's just like get your money philosophy out there, even if you don't know if it's a money philosophy, but like share stories around money or things that have come up for you, and how it makes you feel, and how it's dictated how you like manage life. And one of the greatest ways that you can kind of do that is like really look through your transactions for the last couple of months.
Mm.
Open up those bank statements and credit card statements, and it'll kind of tell you what you're valuing in that moment.
Oh no, I don't
And I
look at
think that's a
those.
great,
I love the electronic version. I just can ignore it. No,
and
but
that's the whole thing. Yeah.
well, I use Rocket Money. Do you have use like an app where you can see all your your stuff in
Yeah,
one
I use
spot?
I use Monarch. I love Monarch.
Oh, I
Rocket
haven't.
Money is great too because it'll tell you like your subscriptions. Like it reminds you, hey, you paying for
It's
this
very good.
subscription.
It just isn't so
Yeah.
easy to like cancel them as they make it seem, but yeah,
No,
I'm
it's
trying
not.
to.
I had Rocket Money.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
I love
we
that
can't do that for
process.
you. Here you go. Just letting you know. But yeah, but for my husband and I, it's finally the platform that we're using now to like look at all of our stuff in one place. You know what the
I don't know.
struggle?
Do they have a net worth tracker on there? Because
Yeah,
Monarch has all of that stuff, which I really really like. It's been a couple
it's a
years.
really nice
Yeah.
dashboard, and you can add your
Yeah.
partner as like a joint user, and so
Same.
it adds that level of transparency. But our problem is the time to like block out 2 hours to actually go through it and really do like I want to do a values lineup assessment. I want to
Mhm.
like talk through our values first, especially like around values specifically that relate to like finances. Like what types of things are we willing to spend more on? What do we not value so much? And then do like an audit of our finances and kind of like assess what things can be cut because they're not in alignment with our values, and kind of like look at how we've been spending, I don't know, the
Mhm.
past like year or two, and
Mhm.
see how we are in or out of alignment with those values. Because our, I know one of our values is being able to retire like earlier than the government would have us think is
Mhm.
normal.
Mhm.
I know our value is that we want to be able to like purchase homes for our kids and or help them with their first down payment. And my husband
Mhm.
has a value of wanting to hand down a really nice watch to his boys, something that I kind of
That's
roll
so
my eyes
cute.
out, but it means a lot
That's
to
his
him.
thing. That's his thing, baby.
Yeah, he's like, I want to give them a Rolex. And I'm like, okay. But if that's a value, then let's like be striving toward that. I think what we're going to find is a lot of DoorDash and Uber Eats and have to be like, was our value? Well, see, but we could like, our value is convenience and spending time as a family
Mhm.
and me not having to
Yeah.
cook. That's a value. Um, but it's setting, I would say one of my pieces of advice for you, Lauren, is just to, as much as you can, make it a habit. Like,
Mhm.
and I've given this advice and I'm not great at enforcing it, which is like have that money, scheduled conversation, whether it's like once a week, once a month, whatever, once a quarter, but having that dedicated time. And if when all else fails, I really love getting a financial planner in the mix, because especially if you do like a fee based or fee only planner for a few $100s, like, which maybe that sounds like a lot, but consider it like a couples counselor in a way, because they can be like an objective third party to ask some of the questions that maybe
Mhm.
if it came from you they might get defensive, or you don't even know which questions to ask. And a financial planner can, and you can just make it simple. It's not like we are coming here to merge our finances. It's like we're going to meet with the financial planner just to do like a household budget assessment
Mhm. Mhm.
and get everything in one place and track our goals and all of that. And I promise, like, through that conversation with that planner, you'll be able to get a lot of clarity around your partner's, like Nazima was saying, like mindset around money, how they feel about money. You can start
Mhm.
looking for red flags. Like, I
Mhm.
think, obviously someone who shuts down and doesn't want to do it, that's a big red flag.
That's the one. That's a big one. But I think
Yeah.
like Lauren's question is more like, should you even be talking about finances with someone that you're not married with, married to? And I think the
Yeah.
overall answer is yes. But I'm going to say it depends, because if you're not dating seriously, like it's a lot of people that's out here just like, just dating for the thrills,
But if you want to if you want
but if you want
longevity
to,
with that
yeah,
person,
if you're dating
yeah.
seriously and you want to go to the next level with that person, you want to make it more than just dating, and you might be on that wedding trajectory or life partner trajectory. And like in Ellie's case, like she doesn't feel like she's going to be married, but she's been with this man for 12 years. I mean, they share a lot inherently, right? So if that's the path that you're going on, the sooner the better to have these money conversations. And I love the suggestion of meeting with a financial planner. It kind of goes along the same thing of like the whole, setting up like prenups and like just getting prepared for that, because a lot of that is just like bringing to the table your debts, your assets, all of those things. And then also it brings to the forefront what your money personality is. So I love
Yeah,
it.
I like you can keep it light
Yeah.
and cute early dating.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about,
Yeah.
I mean, because if you're like, let's say you're like Bronwyn before, where one person earning like three times as much as the other one, and the
Yeah.
other one wants to go on dates, and it's like, but you guys are only just dating, so it's like maybe you're going to go splitsies, or
Hmm.
you get one, I get
Yeah.
one kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then there should be a conversation, a candid one about, hey, I'm not able to afford this type of date, so let's set a
Hmm.
budget. Or are you comfortable, like, are you okay if I take you to, I don't know, why is Chick-fil-A the only thing coming to my mind? To go to Chick-fil-A and take a walk in the park versus like going to a Michelin rated restaurant, right? And that I think is maybe not a comfortable conversation to have, but if they make you feel safe and not judged,
Hmm.
and if
Hmm.
they make you feel, if they're completely understanding and immediately are like, yes, that's a green flag. And if it's anything but that, I would say that's a red flag to look out for.
Yeah, and like in the instance of like the person that's making like $40,000 a year and wanting to be that person that takes that person out, I can understand like how that conversation can be uncomfortable, because you want to be those things, you want to be able to provide. And I have seen where those situations turn into like a negative thing, where it could easily be just like, let's have the conversation. Like, I don't want to go out to all these places that you think that I might want to go to just because you think I'm used to a certain level of luxury. The more important thing is I want to spend quality time with you. And if that means that we order pizza and we watch Netflix, that's way more important to me than you trying to impress me and take me to this fancy restaurant because I've been there and that's what I want to do. And I think that instead of shying away from those conversations, you're like, hey, like, I really want to do these really nice things for you, but it's giving
Yeah.
me a little bit of anxiety because I can't do those things at that level right now.
Yeah.
And then what is a way that we can work around it? But I think people are so scared of having those conversations that they'll just give up on the relationship. And I've seen that.
Well, if it
Yeah.
really matters to you,
Yes.
don't give up. And I
Yes.
mean, I don't mean to say if they're uncomfortable, like it's a red flag, shut it down, because I think
Mm-hmm.
it depends on
Yeah.
ages. Like my husband and I got in a
Again,
fight when we first we moved in together, and I was like, for some reason, I'm such a Hermione. I was like way over the top. I was
you're right.
financial expert, Yahoo Finance, blah blah blah. Like, come on, tell me your credit score. And he was like, well, no, I won't. And I was like, well, yes, you will. I need to know your credit score. And it became like this whole thing, this big like power struggle of like, tell me what's your credit score. And I should have just like calmed down, given him
Mm-hmm.
some space to get comfortable with the idea. And like eventually it was fine, but like leaving a little bit of like space for the human element, especially if they
Yeah.
have anxiety or just like
Yeah.
internalized patriarchy can be a part of that too. They need to
Yeah,
like unlearn a
exactly.
little bit of that machismo sometimes. And if they're worth it, you can give them a little bit of space, a little bit,
Yes.
tiny bit of space.
Yes.
All right, BA fame. Well, Nasima, thank you so much
Thank you.
for
Thank
joining me
you.
twice this week. BA fam, go check out Nasima's incredible work. And Wednesday's episode, of course, we learn a lot about her experience as a labor and delivery nurse and
Yes, yes.
repping for Oakland.
That's
And
right, all day.
Thanks for joining us. All right, check her out at Financially Intentional. And what's the name of your podcast? Is it
The
also
Financially Intentional
the
Podcast.
Financially Intentional Podcast? All right, VA fam. Until next time, bye. Take care.